What's up, everybody? Garrett Crumley here with Duty to Train. Wanted to continue my research on the Second Amendment, and so let's just jump right into it. But I think a better way to do this is to at least start with some people having educated debates and form opinions based off of what other people say. Not because, the whole point is to like go back to the source documents, but I'm kind of like actually at a loss about exactly what I'm. Just want to make sure I share the right screen. There we go. Okay, I did. I'm kind of at a loss about like where to really start. And I feel like if I can watch videos, then we could walk through like good points and bad points together. And then people would be able to see where I'm at the moment and what I believe. I just think that it's going to be better than me trying to like delve into all of this without any really good idea about where to start. Because the last video was like an hour and 11 minutes, and I don't feel like I accomplished very much. So we're going to go to YouTube. And look up Second Amendment debate. Okay, Colin Noir. Okay, I'm just gonna click on this. Again, like this is me just starting out. I did the first one was a Washington Post. Second one was pro Second Amendment. Third one was anti. I'm not going to go back and forth like that intentionally. I'm just doing research, but I just want people to know right off the gate. I'm not trying to cherry pick. Colin Noir is a very pro Second Amendment and popular voice in the Second Amendment category. I do actually have about 30 minutes, so this actually would be perfect for my time frame. And I'm going to try to keep these a little bit shorter anyway. I don't want to do like hour-long podcasts on this, so I think
wouldn't it be better if a leather holster could lock?
Let's listen to this
with
together.
Limited carry options, responsible gun owners know the
one right that's listed in the Constitution that uses that.
So recently, Jon Stewart interviewed Oklahoma State Senator Nathan Dam. During this interview, there was an 8-minute segment where they talked about guns. And I must say, the level of intellectual dishonesty in this video was egregious. And because of this, I'm going to debunk all of the nonsense that spewed so effortlessly from Jon Stewart's mouth.
I'm a strong proponent of the Second Amendment. I believe the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's the one right that's listed in the Constitution that uses that very specific affirmative language, shall not be.
It's also the one right that uses the phrase well-regulated.
Jon believes well-regulated means controlled or supervised by the government. In the late 18th century, when the Second Amendment was written, well-regulated did not mean controlled or supervised by the government. It meant well-functioning. Well-regulated in the 18th century tended to be something like well-organized, well-armed, well-disciplined, says Rovo. It didn't mean regulation in the sense that we use it now, in that it's not about the regulatory state. There's been nuance there. It means the militia was in effective shape to fight. In other words, it didn't mean the state was controlling the militia in a certain way, but rather that the militia was prepared to do its duty. Keep in mind, that's coming from a constitutional expert who won a Pulitzer Prize for history.
By the way, just for clarity's sake.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know, I guess I'd have to do like my own research on like what well-regulated means. But one of the things that we did learn in that one where it was, what was it? It was, what the framers intended, a linguistic analysis of the right to bear arms, right? And then, it really like, when they say bear arms, they did mean carry around, right? So this whole document, 11-page document, was talking about how bearing arms doesn't mean to like just have them, right? You have to be able to bear arms means to carry, and that's what they meant back in the day. And so I'm not going to give anybody the benefit of the doubt in this video series because I can't, because then I'm not going to be being honest, right? I have to like fact check that myself. He gave us one source, which is good, right? He gave us like a Pulitzer Prize winning historian, also good. Far better than what we saw in that Washington Post article, which was literally just a bunch of nonsense and no, references whatsoever. But I guess that would be a good point. And let me actually just pull this up. I'm gonna do another file, new note. Color, let's do purple, do your train. And 1. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to share is, or look up is, what does well regulated mean? Okay. And this is just like, I don't know, maybe if you're already like about to like click out, but I want people to be able to see, because I believe that I'm going to end up, I think Do Your Train is going to be a massive, massive company. And once I end up on really big news outlets talking about my belief in the Second Amendment, I want to be able to say, listen, I have done all of this research and it's all online. You can just go look at it, right? So pick apart my argument in the videos and then tell me where I got it wrong. And the one part I do want to, and I don't think this is a cop-out, there are downsides to a Second Amendment, right? If anyone argues that, I don't think they're being honest. There are definite downsides, right? But the upsides totally outweigh the downsides, in my opinion, as of right now. And you think that like, oh, I'm not being honest because I have like this opinion and I'm going into it totally just like, I would be lying to say that I don't have an opinion. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm going into this totally objectively, like I'm not. I'm a pro like Second Amendment guy, right? But I want to do my own research. And I want to learn for myself what I believe and why I believe it. And there are going to be good arguments against why we should not have a Second Amendment. That's just, there will be those arguments. The thing that we have to parse out in these video series is, do the pros outweigh the cons or vice versa in terms of having a Second Amendment as defined, I guess, by like the conservative right or the pro-gun movement. And so I think that's an important point to say.
I'm not against the Second Amendment. I'm not against, I don't want to ban guns.
John, you proved you were against the Second Amendment the moment you said this.
Well, it's also the one right that uses the phrase well-regulated.
That is a collective rights argument made by people who don't believe there is an individual right to own a gun. A collective rights theory of the Second Amendment asserts that citizens do not have an individual right to possess guns, and that local states and federal legislative bodies therefore possess the authority.
Yeah, let's just read this ourselves so we're not like going off somebody else. All right, scholars search Cornell. Okay, so this comes from like Cornell law, perhaps. States' right to self. Scholars call the theory the collective rights theory. A collective rights theory of the Second Amendment asserts that citizens do not have an individual right to possess guns, and that local, state, and federal legislative bodies therefore possess the authority to regulate firearms without implicating a constitutional right. Okay. All right, cool.
To regulate firearms without implicating a constitutional right. Yet in 2008, the Supreme Court meticulously detailed the history and tradition of the Second Amendment at the time of the Constitutional Convention and proclaimed that the Second Amendment established an individual right for U.S. citizens to possess firearms. So, John, when you say this...
Well, it's also the one right that uses the phrase well-regulated.
It means you don't believe there is an individual right to own firearms, which by definition means you are against the Second Amendment.
But you're saying more guns makes us...
Okay. I just don't think that's being super honest. I don't know a whole lot about Jon Stewart, and like maybe he's coming from an area that is, I don't know, maybe he's watched a lot more Jon Stewart stuff. I think a lot of people who are pro-gun, or not pro-gun, a lot of people who are okay with some guns and not okay with like AR-15s and stuff like that. I think what Jon Stewart meant there was that, like, I don't think that he understands what well-regulated means. You know what I mean? Like, he's just saying, yeah, just well-regulated. And he's just formed his own opinion. And then, he heard somebody say something at some point in time. He's like, I like that idea. Has he gone into constitutional law and like looked up the Supreme Court cases? I don't think so. I don't think a lot of people have. And it's really easy to get on here and be like, well, it says well-regulated, but what does that actually mean? So I just think if you're going to be honest, and you have to be when you're talking about these types of issues, Jon Stewart didn't mean well-regulated as in people don't have the right to bear arms. I do think that he believes that people have the right to bear pistols, not outside the home, but inside the home. Now, I don't know exactly where we're coming with this. We're just jumping into this, you know. But I just think that's important, right? And again, I kind of like want to take this video series the same way that Joe Rogan takes his video series, right? Like, look at this objectively and try to give both sides the benefit of the doubt, right? And that's hard to do. That's hard to do when everything's so polarized, right? But if we want to get people on our side, you know, I am honestly hoping that this ends up being like, oh wow, I just like the Second Amendment just totally smoked it. Like, you know, the other side's argument doesn't hold a candle to this. But in order for people to agree with that opinion, you know, I think this will end up being the only type of historical research done all online in terms of like into the Second Amendment. And it will shape like everything that I think about the Second Amendment, because I have like my own ideas, but they're very like elementary, I guess you could say. You know, if the government takes away your guns, then you can't fight back, you know, and there's arguments against that. I don't really know what they are. So that's like what I'm trying to look up so that when I do end up getting a public forum and a large public message or a large public gathering or whatever, then I will be able to say with intelligence why I believe the things that I do. And then I'll be able to say, you know, go back and look at my videos. But if I'm saying right now that when Jon Stewart says that he said well regulated, a lot of people are going to be like, well, that's not what he meant, right? And I think that they would be honest. Like a lot of people in America, when they say, hey, a well-regulated militia, I just don't think a whole lot of people know what that means, you know? And you just have to be honest that a lot of people don't know what that means. And then to start like citing Supreme Court cases and being like, well, this is what the Supreme Court said it meant, when, you know, it's like, well, people are like, okay, well, I didn't know that. Like, you're kind of mincing my words. Like, I was taking it in the context of what it means today. And it's like, okay, that's part of the problem, is that's not when it was written. It wasn't written today. You have to take it in terms of what they meant back then. But in order to just be honest, you have to, I don't know, let's carry on.
More safe.
Yes,
It's the Second Amendment.
But you're saying more guns makes us more safe.
yes.
So when we got 400 million guns in the country, we had an increase and
450.
gun deaths went up. So when exactly does this curve hit that takes it down? Would 1 billion guns do it?
Let's just run those numbers, you know, 400 million, 50,000.
Uh-huh.
You're talking about,
Just real quick, you know, you do have to parse all this out. It makes us more safe. One of the large arguments that conservatives have, or just I'll stop saying conservatives, because like there are a lot of people on the left who also are very pro-gun. I think it would be a bad argument to say that the only reason that guns make us more safe is because day to day they make us more safe, right? The reason, and the main reason that we have the Second Amendment, is to fight against a tyrannical government. The reason that they make us more safe is because our government is terrified of a upset and angry population with 450 million guns. That is one thing to be concerned about. I mean, if we got really, really mad in this country, you know, and like everybody kind of got together and went against the ruling class, like the elites, the political elites, they would be in big trouble. And they know that, you know, and so I'm just interested to see where this goes. But when people say, oh, you know, it makes us more safe, there's two ways you can interpret that. One is it makes us safe from a tyrannical government, or two, it makes us safe day to day walking around. It's different. There's two different arguments there.
less than you know, 400 million, 50,000.
Uh-huh.
You're talking about less than a fraction of, not even 1%, of 1/100%.
But it goes up, not down. So your argument is backwards.
But if you want, okay, so let's come up with a solution. Okay, so one of the issues, a contributing factor, again, I believe it's the individual that is the problem.
So your solution to that is give them more guns.
Actually, John, the argument isn't backwards, because in 2022, the number of gun homicides actually went down. Over 60% of that 40 to 50,000 gun deaths number is self-inflicted, not homicides. There were 20,138 actual gun homicides in 2022.
Okay, I can't go back to every single one. Fact check, true. I've done the research.
John is trying to use self-inflicted gun deaths to pad the numbers for shock value. It is not that these types of deaths don't matter. They just don't belong in the gun violence conversation.
Okay, let's look that up real quick. Let's look up like a trend, because you can take year to year and that doesn't matter. Gun violence over decades. All right, let's just look this up real quick. Total gun deaths. Americans lead high income nations in gun violence. Yeah, because we have guns. Duh. I hate stuff like this. This is just this is the other side of it, right? They're just not being honest, right? Like, yeah, but if ever there was a tyrannical government, right, who would be the freest nation? We would, because we have a bunch of guns and we can fight back, just like they did back in the Revolutionary War. So, this looks like it's just a hate on, and they're not actually going to give us. Gun deaths are on the rise nationally. Okay, gun deaths, right? So this seems like use the menu on the filter on, use the menu on to filter gun deaths by intent. All intents. Okay, so all right, let's homicide. Back in 2012, 11, 11, 11, 12, 14, 14, 13, 14, 19, 20. That looks like they're going up. Yeah, spade's a spade. What is this? I'd like to know. Source, CDC Wonder. Okay, I'm just interested. Let's double check this real quick. Gun. Number of firearm deaths in the U.S. 1990 to 2021. Only necessary. Okay. Okay, in 2021, there were 48,000 fatalities, highest number of gun deaths ever recorded. However, this figure has remained relatively high over the past 25 years, with 37,155 firearm deaths in 1990 and a slight dip in fatalities between 1999 and 2002. Okay, so if you cherry pick and then you just go back to 2012, it looks like it goes up. But then it was at 39 in 1993, and then it goes down, and then it goes back up. And right now it's high. I would argue, I think it's fair to say this. If you look at the way society is at the moment, and this is the thing, like, tell me if I'm wrong, and maybe, this is why I want to do this, but I think it's fair to say that when people are really, really unhappy, and you lock people up in their homes and people lose their businesses. I mean, everybody, left, right, and center was irate during COVID. Everybody was flipping out. And if you take like the extremes of both sides, and then make them more extreme, what's going to happen? Like, crime is going to rise. And frankly, I mean, if you look at it, like, crime rose exponentially in 2020 and 2021, right? Otherwise, it's 39, right? You go all the way back down here, it's 39. Right? It kind of dipped down, right? And I feel like, I don't know, I didn't really know a whole lot about what was happening back in the 90s, but I do remember the early 2000s, and then 2008 hit, and people were going through a hard time, but it didn't seem like the country was like really coming apart at the seams. And I just feel like, if you look at 2020, 2021, why are people maybe murdering more people? I don't know, because everybody's like really irate all the time. And not that I'm saying that's a good reason to go around and murder people, but if you have people who are kind of like on the edge of committing murder, and then, the economy's, not doing so hot, inflation, I don't know, people just feel like, I just feel like people are getting like squeezed by all sides. And this isn't like, I'm not hating on Biden when it comes to this. I have my issues with like all types of politicians. So I am not, don't be like, oh, he's hating on, like, dude, I do not like really any politicians. So, but if you are going to sit here and say that, all of a sudden in 2020, stuff just spiked higher than it's ever been, what happened? Everybody started flipping out because of COVID, and I think that would naturally lead to some more gun deaths. So, has it gone up? Yeah, but then Statista or whatever, this other that other site that we were just at, they picked from 2012, and they could have gone all the way back to 2000 and made their point even stronger. But then if they went back to 92, it's kind of pretty flat, right? So, something to think about.
Because we don't call someone using a tall building to remove themselves.
So I guess Call Noir, if he's talking about from 2012 to 2022, he's wrong. But I mean, he honestly, this is like his whole life. I think he is probably going back further than 10 years and being like, listen, we've had tons and tons of people purchase guns in the last 30 years. And, it's gone up, it's gone down. And, that kind of just makes sense with society. There's going to be like harder times than not. And when people are more upset, worse things are going to happen, more murders are going to take place. And there's going to be crime waves and it's going to go down. And, that's not just because of guns. So I think that's the point he's making. I'm trying to be, when it came to well-regulated, I gave Jon Stewart his due. I think it's fair to say that Call Noir, he's like, listen, I don't think you're being honest when you say that. Yeah.
Themselves from the world, gravity violence. As for when did more guns make us more safe? We can start in 2007 when the National Crime Victimization Survey conducted by the Bureau of Justice Statistics estimates that between 2007 and 2011, there were about 235,700 instances of firearm use by victims of violent crimes for self-defense purposes each year. Then there's a study from the journal.
I wonder if he puts all this in his description. Dude, you should put that stuff in your description, Colin. That'd be cool. Just, I mean, if you're going to cite stuff, I just feel like it'd be cool to I don't know. That's what I want to do. I guess he does so many videos. Maybe it's just hard to do, but. Yeah.
Of criminal law and criminology that estimated that firearms are used for self-defense purposes.
However, maybe the reason he doesn't is let's just go to. Gotta leave that open. All right, I'm just gonna do a little bit more and then we can come back to this video later because I'm gonna have to get going soon. But let's look up National Crime Victimization Survey.
There were about of justice statistics. Estimates that when the National Crime Victimization Survey conducted by the Bureau of Justice Statistics.
All right. National crime. Okay, so maybe the reason he doesn't, again, I'm gonna give everybody the benefit of the doubt, unless you're just being totally dishonest, like that Washington Post reporter, you're just a fool. It's the nation's primary source of information on criminal victimization. Each year, data are obtained from a nationally representative sample of about 240,000 persons and about 150,000 households. Okay, so to his credit, maybe the reason he doesn't do it is he's go do your own damn research. I did mine. Collects information on non-fatal personal crimes, rape, sexual assault, robbery, aggravated and simple assault, and personal larceny, and household property crimes, both reported and not reported to the police. Methodology, questionnaire. Okay. Yikes. Criminal victimization, indicators of workplace, report on indicators of school crime, incident of victimization at school, firearm violence, nation's 2 crime measures, stalking, criminal victimization, report indicators of school, financial fraud, stalking, victims of identity theft, classification of urban, violent victimization, school crime. Let's just look up this real quick. Trends and patterns in firearms violence. This report describes trends and patterns in fatal and non-fatal firearm violence from 1993 to 2018. And for the most recent period of 2014 to 18, the report includes data on the type of firearm, location of the incident, victim and offender demographic characteristics and relationship, type of violence, injury and treatment, police notification, and victim self-protective behaviors. Oh, okay. Good, this is what I'm looking for. All right, the firearm homicide rate decreased 41. Interesting. This is a gov. The firearm homicide rate decreased 41% overall from 93 to 2018. But then I was looking at this. I guess this is total number of firearm deaths, right? So that other one was talking about total murders. Remember that first one? I remember. See, now I got to make sure that I have all of my stats too, but this is a gov website. So the firearm homicide rate decreased 41% overall from 93 to 2018, from 8.4 to 5 homicides per 100,000 persons aged 12 or older, reaching a low of 4 per 100,000 in 2014 before rising to 5 per 100,000 in 2018. The rate of non-fatal firearm violence for persons aged 12 or older declined 76%. The rate of non-fatal firearm violence for persons aged 12 or older declined 76% from 93 to 2018. Okay. From 1993 to 2018, on average, 71% of homicides were committed with a firearm. Okay. The majority of firearm violence involved the use of a handgun. Okay, is that it? Am I like losing my mind here? Where's the publication? Summary. Oh, full report. Let's do summary. Oh, okay, here we go. Rate of firearm homicide per 100,000. Okay, so rate of firearm homicide per 100,000 persons, 93. Okay, all right. So if you go all the way back to 93, rate of firearm homicide per 100, and this is, I don't know, bjs.gov, right? So I feel like it's a government website. Hopefully it's accurate. Rate per 100,000 persons aged 12 or older. Rate per 100,000 persons is just a little bit lower. Okay, so I mean, if it started up here at 9 per 100,000, we're all the way down at 5 in 2018. It's probably ticked up since then. I'd be willing to bet, but not anywhere near where it was in 93. According to victims of firearm handgun use, victims of non-fatal. Okay. I'd just be interested to see. Oh my gosh. See, this is why people don't do research into the Second Amendment. This is insane. I'm just trying to figure out some basic stuff and it's like so complicated. So, one of the things I am gonna have to figure out though is that like I'm gonna have to be able to like start remembering like key facts. And this is a good one. Okay, so C. All right, you guys are gonna have to give me a second because I am bum, ba-da-bum, bum, bum. This is my daily to-do list. Just go down here because I don't want you guys to see that. Let's say July 17th. All right, so July 1/7. Colin Noir, what's his name? John Stewart. And this is, I know this is boring, but like this is eventually people are going to come back to this, I think. And then this isn't going to be a link, but maybe I'll just do like, note 1, note 2, and then I will just see. Copy, paste that. Okay. Okay. Now I have to put this link in so that I know where I got it from. Insert link. Apply. Okay. All right. So now I have, dang it. Now I have the firearm homicide rate decreased 41% overall from 93 to 2018, from 8.4 to 5 per 100,000 persons age 12 or older, reaching a low. And then I could click on this. And then that way, you know, I can always come back and be like, this is where I found it. Okay. So that's what I'm going to start doing. And I have to do this in real time because I'm not doing this pre-recorded because I want everyone to know where I'm getting my information from. Okay. And I'm not cherry picking. Like I'm just doing research. Okay. So let's try to maybe do like one more point and then we're going to have to like maybe come back to this. Cause I think there's just,
Estimates that between
and I guess it's good because it's going on my side. Right. So we'll do a different one.
2007
see
to
what happens.
2011, there were about 235,700 instances of firearm
Okay. I didn't find this exact point, but to his credit, I think, fair to say that gun homicides have gone way down ever since 93, right? And then that's where, what is it? I want to come up with this one too. Gun crime rates. Gun violence over decades. All right, so Giffords, right? Giffords, right? So let's just go back, scroll. That's what I'm trying to do. Giffords. Right, gun deaths are on the rise nationally. Funny how they started in 2012. Right? Funny how they started in 2012 when you look at, right, 2012, yeah, they're up, right? Then do they go down a little bit? Okay, so they don't show that they kind of go down here. They start, okay, so 11,622, 11,208, 11,008, right? The homicide does go down a little bit. This shows the homicide, right, from 2012, it goes down a little bit and then it spikes up, right? Which is what they're showing here, right? That's what they're showing here, but this is the problem. This is the problem. I think this is a good place to end it. You know, this is like the Washington Post article, right? They're just cherry picking data to make themselves look good and to make their point. This is what I don't want to do. I want people to see where I am getting my research from. Like, you know, it took 2 seconds, 2 seconds. Unless I'm like missing something really crazy. I mean, I'm not Mr. Bright, but I'm also not Mr. Stupid either. Like these people cherry picked the data from 2012 to 2021. It would have been so easy to just go back and just show you that the rate of firearm homicides, if you just go back another 20 years, have dropped drastically. And we've just had a minor little tick up. But what's happened ever since 2012? I think it's fair to say, and this goes to my point before, that, you know, Obama got elected, Trump got elected, COVID started. I feel like in those three things, I don't know, people didn't really like Bush, but people really didn't like Obama. And then people really didn't like Trump. And then COVID happened. And all of this has just been making people crazy, right? So, yeah, I mean, I think that's probably a good place to leave it for today because I don't want to get it like too crazy into it. But this is, I feel like this is probably a better place to start, at least though that I can start fact checking different sides, because if you get really good minds on both sides, right, they should have done their homework. And maybe we will start to see a pattern emerge. I am biased. I will tell you my biases. I think we will start to see that on the left. And I think that today we at least saw that from this. Giffords. Just know that if you ever go to giffords.org/law center/gun-violence-statistics, that they cherry pick their data. So Giffords Law Center isn't honest. Surprise, surprise. I found a website that's not honest. But, you know, when you go to Google and then let's just type this in. Gun deaths are on the rise. False. Only if you go back to 2012. Giffords cherry picks their data. Right. And I think think I showed that pretty easily. It's not like I'm not brilliant. I'm not saying I am, but this stuff it just takes a lot of time. And so I'm willing to do the work and I'm willing to do the time, but I want people to be able to go through all of my research. Again, I'm gonna like pound this, but just in case like people come in, I want people to be able to go through all my research and be like, oh, you missed this. And then I can go through it and be like, okay, did I? Right? Maybe I missed something. I'm not perfect. I'm sure I'm going to miss lots of things and people are going to make points that I didn't think of, but I don't think anyone has ever come out with a more all-encompassing research method of the Second Amendment, where they just put everything out online and show that they're not cherry picking data. And I've done 2 pro and 2 anti, and to be fair to the kind of anti-gun side, the other day it was making good points and I was having a hard time coming back, but it was literally such a long thing that it was getting so boring and so monotonous that I was like, I don't know if this is like a great place to start. I don't even know like the information to like not combat this, because it's like, oh, like you don't have the information to combat it, so you don't want to do it. But it was like so long. I had literally gotten through like half of it. I was like, oh my gosh. So I think if you take both sides, right? I don't know, possibly a very efficient way to do this is both sides should have done their homework by now, right? Both sides should have done their homework when it comes to the Second Amendment. And if both sides have done their homework, then I should be able to look up debates and points that both sides are making, and then just try to fact check them. And maybe there will be a pattern that emerges where one side is being more honest than the other. And if one side is being more honest and the other side is cherry picking data, then we know that, one side is just trying to cherry pick data to make their point, and the other side is like, no, look at everything. And then you get all the information. And I think today, falls on the Second Amendment. 2A wins. Maybe that'd be like a fun way to do going forward, is after the video, be like, which side won? And I think today, at least, 2A wins, because Jon Stewart's talking about how gun deaths have gone up, right? But is he cherry picking, right? He's cherry picking what gun deaths, and he's also cherry picking the ones that matter. And he's cherry picking the years in which he's quoting those statistics. So, Jon Stewart, sir, I don't think you're being honest. All right. Until next time, I'll stop sharing. Oh, actually, one sec. I have to make sure I go here, get my quotes, insert, link, boom, apply. Awesome. Okay. And that's just how I'm going to start doing it. All right. So until next time, stop sharing. Stay safe, live free. Do your own research. Think critically, people, right? This is honestly, though, this is one of the reasons that people can lie to us, right? It's so easy because I'm literally just trying to do the very basics of the Second Amendment, trying to research the very basics of the Second Amendment arguments for and against. And it's really, really complicated. It's really time intensive. And I haven't even started. Like, I feel like I could do this for thousands and thousands of hours. And then I would really start to get a grasp on it. But I've literally just started this, and I'm going to keep doing this for a very long time, for a very, very, very long time, maybe years. I'll commit to a year. I don't know how many videos, but I will do at least once a week for a year, and I'll do many more than that. I just don't want to commit to like 4 a week or whatever, because I might not do that many, but I'll do this for at least a year and do many, many videos, do a couple 100 hours worth of research, and then see where we fall, and then that way, once I, again, I didn't eat very well yesterday. And so you might tell that my brain is not functioning at like maximum capacity right now. I'm kind of like all over the place. But when I don't eat very well, it like really messes me up. And I was at the shore, I was with family, ate a bunch of crap. And so my brain is just like, bleh. Anyway. See, I don't even remember what I was talking about. But until next time, stay safe, live free. I'll talk to you later and see you. Bye.